Hi everyone, it's Stacy. Thank you for coming on this yoga leap with me. Welcome to anyone who's finding the video for the first time. Welcome back to those of you who've been practicing with me over the course of the last couple of years now. I've got my chair here this week. We're going to focus on some nice stretching for our legs, hamstrings, quads, and really the whole body. We're going to just do a nice stretchy flow today. I will be mostly standing and sitting on the mat, but I'll try and show some options in the chair. Follow along, wait for me to catch up to you if you're waiting for some instruction or some ideas for a pose. And if I am taking too long, just find a pose that feels good, find a few breaths there, and then jump back in when it feels right for your body. With that being said, I'm going to start seated on the mat and we'll get going. So come on down to your chair, or like me, down to the mat, and find any comfortable seated pose to begin with. We always want to start our movement here with just a couple of moments of quiet, a little bit of tuning into our body, tuning into the space around us, just so we can take time to put aside all the what ifs, put aside the oh I wish I had's, and just focus here. You found the time to get on the mat, to move your body, to maybe quiet your mind a bit. Whatever the reason is that's brought you to your mat today, let's try and focus on that and be in the moment. So, like I said, any comfortable posture, position. Legs can be crossed, crisscross. They can be open a little bit more, easy seated pose. If you're feeling warm enough already, even though this is the beginning of the class, you may want to come into lotus or half lotus if you're working on that. So whatever feels most comfortable for you. Then we want to just sort of ground down through the sit bones. Same thing if you're in the chair. Hands can come to rest on our thighs, our knees, one hand on belly or heart center, wherever your hands feel comfortable. And then the last thing is just to decide, are you looking to bring energy into the practice? You may want to turn the hands up. And if you're looking to maybe calm the energy down, depending on what time of day you're practicing, you may want to turn the hands down. It might feel a bit grounding to turn the hands down and really connect with your body, your physical body. With that being said, if it's comfortable for you, go ahead and close your eyes here, or if not, maybe just turn your gaze down. Find a nice still space on the floor in front of you that you can rest your gaze. Let's take a couple of inhales here. Just let the breath flow naturally in and out through the nose. Really just notice if you're feeling tense anywhere, if you feel like you're holding on or gripping anywhere. And just take these last few seconds before we really start to settle to decide, am I comfortable where I am? Would I like to change the positioning of my legs, my hands, whatever it is? And take a few more breaths to settle in. Again, if the eyes are closed, if that's comfortable for you. If not, just resting the gaze, and wherever the gaze is, behind closed or open eyes, start to turn the attention inwards. Start to notice the rise and fall of the belly. Start to feel heat building between your hands and your body. Start noticing sounds both near and far. And then come on back, notice the breath. Is it the same? Has it changed? Has it slowed or sped up? There's no right or wrong, just notice it once you've also tuned into some of those other senses around you. Trying not to control the breath too much, but just looking inward and noticing the natural flow of the breath. I know it's difficult the minute that you're asked to focus on something, it becomes a little bit unnatural, but just try to let the breath flow naturally. And after a few quiet moments here, we'll start to deepen the breath a bit. So hands can stay exactly as they are, or you may want to bring one to belly and heart center. That might give you a little bit of biofeedback for your breath. we'll start to inhale here. So inhale to fill the belly, feel the hand on the belly expand, but also try to notice the belly expanding in all directions. So like a balloon, fill up all the way into ribs and chest. And then let it all go. And now we'll feel those hands sinking back in towards the center of the core. Inhale to fill belly, ribs, and chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, and belly. Inhale, belly, ribs, and chest. And exhale, chest, ribs, and belly. Do a couple more at your own pace. And then after you've finished this round of breath, we can start to open the eyes if they're closed and add in that sense of sight, just taking the sights in around you. We'll release the hands from our bodies and we'll start to bring a bit of movement to our breath. I'm just going to move my chair out of the way here so I don't hit it. So releasing the hands, and then we'll inhale, sweep arms up. Let's exhale and open up. So draw the elbows open to the side. We're really opening up through the front side body right off the bat here. And then inhale to reach. Grow long through the spine. Really press down through the sit bones as you reach up with the fingers here on the inhale. On the exhale, open up. Inhale. And exhale. So moving at your own pace here. Nice deep belly breaths. Let's do another one here. Inhale. Let's grab onto right wrist with our left arm, and as we exhale, we'll find a side bend. So stay really grounded and rooted down through that right hip here. We don't want it lifting up off the mat, so root down. This is going to increase a nice big stretch along the side body here. And then release, inhale, let's open up. We'll do a couple rounds here. And then inhale, reach. Grabbing onto opposite wrist this time, and on the exhale, find that side bend. Now this time, root down through that left side, open up this heart space towards the front, find that side stretch. Good, release, inhale. Let's open up, exhale, inhale. Let's exhale all the way down to the ground. Good, let's give the shoulders a little roll forwards and back. We'll come into a gentle twist here. Let's take our left hand, bring it behind our body, and we're going to root down through those sit bones and see if we can twist through belly, ribs, and chest, and guide our right hand across the body, finding left knee. Nice and gentle here. We don't want to yank ourselves into this twist. We're still warming up. We're trying to get the sensation of rooting down and twisting through the core here. Option to look over the back shoulder if it feels okay. And stay for a couple breaths. Really root down through the sit bones. Twist through belly, ribs, and chest. Grow tall and twist deep for 2 more breaths. And when you finish your second round of breath, on the exhale, let's come around to the front here. Let's just take a big inhale here. Exhale, crack it open. Inhale. And all the way down. Good. We'll bring that right hand behind our body. Help us sit up nice and tall by really pressing into the mat with the fingertips. And then as we start to find our twist, our left hand will cross the body and find that opposite knee here. Again, we don't want to yank ourselves into this twist. We're using a bit of strength, a little bit of help with the hands pressing into the mat and finding the knee to help us twist. We grow tall on inhales and deeper on exhales here. Maybe looking over the shoulder. Still rooting down through sit bones, growing tall. One more cycle of breath, and then on the exhale, we'll untwist. We'll come around to center. Awesome. Good. Let's switch the legs. We probably all have them crossed. If not, stay where you are. No problem. Give them a shake if you're in the chair. If you're on the floor in some kind of cross-legged option, let's lean back. We'll uncross the legs here. Just windshield wiper the legs a little bit before we switch sides. And then we'll press ourselves up to seated and cross the opposite leg in front, opposite leg on top, however you were. Just finding that opposite cross of the leg. Let's root down through the sit bones again. And we'll do a couple more rounds of breath. Let's inhale, sweep the arms up. Let's do another side bend. This time we'll let the left hand come all the way down, right arm will reach all the way over. So same thing, drawing a nice long line of energy down right side body. Use the chair or the floor for support and help us get a little bit more into that right side body twist. Gaze can be forwards, up underneath the arm, or maybe down at the hand, wherever it feels comfortable on your neck. And throughout the practice, if long levers like arms reaching is a little too much on shoulders, bring the hands behind head, or maybe even place them on the shoulders, depending on what kind of posture we're in. That will shorten the lever and help eliminate any troubled areas. All right, let's inhale through center. Exhale, open. Inhale, reach. Let's let right hand come all the way down, find the floor, and then left hand sweeps up and over, still rooting down through the sit bone, spinning the heart space forward, finding a comfortable place to rest your gaze. Stay for a few rounds of breath. And then we'll inhale all the way up. Let's exhale the hands all the way back down. Good. Let's uncross the legs, windshield wiper if that feels good. And if you're on the mat, we're going to come around to all fours. We'll do a little bit of cat-cow. If you're in the chair, you can find your seated cat-cow by inhaling and extending the heart space up towards the ceiling and then rounding down through the spine as you exhale. So cat-cow can be done seated or in our tabletop position here, where we're going to plant the hands underneath shoulders, knees, underneath hips, and this time we'll drop the belly. This is our inhale. We're going to open up through the front side body, lift the gaze, tilt the tailbone, and as we exhale, we're going to start to round through the spine, press the mat away, and really splay the shoulder blades. Inhale, let's drop that belly, or reach the heart space up if you're seated, and then exhale, round. We're going to inhale here, and if it feels good, option to add circles or options to look over one shoulder than the other, options for barrel rolls, or stick with your cat-cow, maybe even start to move forward and back in your cat-cow. Just any intuitive movement feels good. Just breathing here. Another full cycle. And on your next inhale, let's come to a neutral spine. Good. Okay, so we're going to start to stretch into the hips and legs a little bit here. So a couple of options. I'll demonstrate a few options in the chair in a moment. If you're on all fours, either coming up to the knees, we're going to step 1 foot forward. We're going to stand a nice low runner's lunge here. So we're going to step the left leg forward. This is our support leg here. And we want to try and create a bit of stretch in the front hip. So you can see here my legs are kind of in a 90-90. Without moving the torso leaning forward, I'm still up nice and tall. I want to start to send the hips forward. So you can watch this knee. It's okay if it goes over the toe a little bit. No problem. We still want to root down powerfully through this front foot. Hands can be up on the knees, up on blocks if you're using blocks. You can now lean forward now that the hips are sinking and support yourself on the mat as well. So we're trying to get into that hip flexor stretch. So play around here. Option, especially if you're on the mat and you've got a bit of space to move, is to walk the left hand inside the foot. Just open up the stance a little bit. See if you can rotate through the hips a little bit, draw some circles in both directions. Okay, so that's the floor option. Stay there, work with your stretch on the floor. If you're in the chair, and depending on what type of chair you have, you may find you want to get down onto the floor for these stretches. You can, I'm just going to turn sideways so you can see. You don't have to turn sideways. I'm just finding room to step that leg back. So you're going to step one leg back and you've got the front leg in front. Sorry, I realize I've got opposite legs going here. Let me switch sides. This will make more sense. So just like those of us on the floor now, our left leg is forward, our right leg is stepping back. And I'm going to stay up on my toes here. I'm not going to press the foot down. This is a bit more of our warrior one stance. So I'm going to see if I can step the leg back and stay up on the toes. And even in the chair, see if I can tilt the hips under. Now in the chair, you can start to lean forward, but you might find you lose the stretch. It's a little bit different because you can't sink the hips lower because of the chair supporting. So instead, maybe staying up nice and tall and seeing how much we can rotate the hips and align them underneath the shoulders. So you'll see my legs aren't quite as straight. I'm in a little bit more of that 90-90. So it's a little bit different with the chair. And if you are in the chair, also hands can rest on the thighs, the chairs, or you can reach the arms up as well. We just don't want to be creating too much work. We're trying to kind of melt into the hips here. Okay, that was a lot of explanation for one little stretch. I'm going to come back down on the floor here, turn around, join those of us on the floor, and I'm going to open up my stance a bit and find a couple circles. I know you've been here for a while already. Good. Now from the floor, we're going to press the hips back, flip the toes up towards the face. You'll feel a little stretch down the back of the legs, a little half splits, hamstring stretch. And if you're in the chair, the option here, so if you're on the floor, you can stay here. You can choose to flow between the two or find one that feels best. In the chair, the flow's a little harder. So you're here in your lunge. You stay here until you feel that you've had a nice stretch down the front of the hip flexor here. Then you'll come back around, step one leg out and hinge forward, and then you'll feel that stretch down the hamstring. So just paying attention to what leg is in front, what leg you're stretching the hip flexor versus the hamstring, and then you can switch sides and do it all over again on this side, tucking those hips under, feeling that nice stretch, and then coming around to the front and then stretching the opposite leg forward. Okay, I'll spend a bit of time on the mat here. Moving forward and backwards. We've been on this side for quite a while. Playing with toes, coming up towards the face to add a stretch into the calf muscle as well. Good. Once you come forward again, let's see if we can walk or swing that leg all the way back so we're back in our tabletop. Same in the chair. Come on back to a neutral seat. Find a couple cat-cows. And then we'll go to the other side. So when we're ready, again, getting up and stepping the opposite foot forward any way that feels good. And you know, I'm using my chair here as support. That's another way to use the chair if you're not sitting in the chair, but you have one close by. It's great. It's a prop. And then we're going to find that, not that lean forward, we're going to find that melting forward of the hips. Again, minding the knee, but it's okay if it goes over the toe a little bit. Staying up on knees, blocks, or leaning down, letting the hips be heavy. And then of course, option to move the right hand inside the leg and just create a bit more space here. We can do some circles with the hips. Just play around here. You can stay in stillness, letting the hips be heavy. If you're in the chair, rotating those hips underneath the shoulders, feeling that stretch down the opposite hip flexor. We'll stay for a couple more breaths, any movement or stillness. And then if you're in this chair, start to make your way around so you can find that straight leg. If you're on the mat, press the hips back, find that half split. So now we're feeling the hamstring stretch here, curl the toes, see how that changes the stretch in the calf. Staying here or moving between the two options. It's your choice here, it's your flow, it's making sure you're getting the stretch and just the sensation that we're looking for. Couple more breaths. And then when you're ready, let's bring that front foot forward again. Plant the hands and we'll see if we can walk that foot or swing it all the way back into our tabletop. Now, option here is to go into a child's pose, reach the hands forward and melt down, or maybe, just maybe if you're on the mat, you may want to come into a downward dog where we will curl the toes under, and then we're going to start to lift these hips up and back towards where the wall meets the ceiling. So I'm going to press into the mat. I'm going to use my core strength to lift up and press back. The ears come between the biceps here, all 5 fingers pressing into the mat. Find a nice long line of energy. And from here, you can stay in stillness, walk the dog. And of course, if you're in child's pose, option to melt down, stay in stillness, or swing the hips from side to side. If you're in the chair, folding forward, letting the head hang heavy. I'm just going to come back to downward dog. Join anybody who's in the downward dog here. Really notice as you are in your downward dog, are your heels melting? They might not touch the mat, but are they starting to melt? What happens if you bend one knee? Can the other heel touch? What happens if you bend the other? Maybe that heel can't touch, maybe it can. Just explore the movement. Another breath here. And then from here, if you're in child's pose, start to make your way up to standing. If you're in downward dog, you can walk, step, or hop all the way up to the top of the mat. You'll find yourself in a forward fold, maybe releasing the hands from the mat, grabbing onto opposite shoulders. Just swaying ragdoll. Let the spine decompress a little bit. Still working on some stretch down the back of the legs here. And then release the elbows. We're going to slowly roll all the way up to standing. Maybe you've already made your way to standing. That's great. And maybe you're staying seated in your chair. That's great. Roll the shoulders. Roll them in the opposite direction, and then find 2 breaths in stillness at the top of the mat. Eyes can be open or closed. All right, from here, do a little quad stretching. So we might have felt a little bit of quad stretching in our previous poses, but we were kind of focused on the hip flexor. So for now, I'll demonstrate the chair in a moment. If you're standing up, you can use the chair for support because we will be coming onto one foot. So we're going to transfer the weight into our right foot to begin with, and then we're going to see if we can lift the back foot up and reach for ankle. I'm going to turn sideways because we want to see this here. So we're going to reach for the ankle and then draw the knees together. So we're not doing dancer's pose. We're not going to lean forward and come into any kind of dancer's pose. We're really trying to glue the thighs together. Maybe I should turn forward actually. Basically I was showing the knee is not swinging out. And here you can see, think about gluing the knees together and you'll feel that quad stretch. Tilt the hips underneath the shoulders again, stand up nice and tall. You're using the chair for support, great. If not, you can add in a bit of a balance challenge by raising the hand and then staying there for a few breaths. Now if you're in the chair, option for the chair is you can turn sideways or just scoot yourself over to the chair. Same thing, depending on what type of chair you have. Sometimes this one's a bit tippy, and then stepping the foot back, and same thing, then reaching for the ankle And then you'll find your quad stretch. From the side, it might look like this. So pointing that knee down towards the floor, tilting that tailbone under so we're sitting up nice and tall, using the chair for support. And if you're still on the mat, let's stay for a couple more breaths here. If you're in the chair or on the mat, we're going to start to switch in to a bit of a hip flexor stretch. So we're going to swing the leg forward, cross it over our knee here, and come into a bit of a standing pigeon. Now, if you're in the chair, it looks the same, you're just seated in the chair. If you're standing, finding some support in the front leg, ground down through that right foot. You can be holding onto the chair or not, helping open up the knee a little bit, creating some stretch through the hips on both sides. Option to fold forward especially if you're seated in the chair, to create a bit more sensation. If you're standing, you might be feeling quite a bit already. We're going to stay for 2 more breaths here. Again, adding a balance challenge if you'd like, by releasing one or both hands from your supporting props. And then we're going to stand up, whoa, and shake it out. I was losing it at the end there, losing my balance. I'm really relying on my chair today, and that's okay. All right, so let's go to the other side. I'm just going to move my chair. You don't have to. You just may want to position yourself on the chair so that you can reach back and grab the opposite leg. And then for those of us on the mat, let's transfer the weight into the left foot. We'll lift that right leg, see if we can reach back. But again, we want to draw the knees together. We don't want them swinging out behind or too far forward. Think about gluing the knees together, tilting that pelvis underneath so you can feel the stretch in the quad. Option to make it a balance challenge if you'd like, by releasing the arm, reaching it up. Still focusing though on our stretch in the quad. We're going to stay for 2 more breaths. Keep those knees glued together. Don't let them swing out. Don't let them swing back. Stay here for 1 more. Then without slingshotting the back foot, let's release it. See if we can just sort of bring it around to the front, cross it over our knee. And same thing if you're in the chair here, it looks the same. Crossing that ankle over knee, opening up through the hips, finding a stretch. If you're seated, you may want to start to hinge forward and melt down a little bit, just to increase the sensation. I do find that there's not much stretch. Well, it depends on our bodies. Just sitting up when I'm seated in the chair in this position. So I like to hinge forward. But when I'm standing or lying down, I don't find I need to hinge forward too much. I find that this is a nice enough challenge as it is. Let's stay for 1 more breath here. Adding in the balance challenge for a breath if you'd like. And then we'll come on out of it. Step the foot down. Let's just shake it all out. All right. I'm just going to bring my chair back around to this side here. We're going to come into our triangle pose. So we want to step the feet wide. Now, if you're in the chair, I'll demonstrate in a minute. We're going to step the feet wide here. And then we're going to point the right toes towards the wall. So we've got the back toes here pointing forward, right one's pointing towards the wall. We want to start to send the hips back towards that wall here as we start to reach. Our back arm here can reach towards opposite wall, or if that's a bit long, it can stay on hips. Reach. So you think about pulling these hips this way, pulling the arm this way. When we can't reach anymore, then we're going to sort of tip the arms into triangle here. So we've got nice straight legs with a tiny micro bend in the knees, just so we're not locking out in our joints. And we're opening up, so we're still spinning this right shoulder under, pressing into the leg here, or using a prop. There's always options for blocks, chairs, props. And remember the top arm reaching up. We're trying to get our shoulders stacked on top of each other here, but if the levers are too long, shorten the levers or bring them right back down, stick it in your back pocket. So lots of options for support. We want to stick the hip out to the back, reach with our head now, and our arm, or our arm here, and find our triangle pose. So now we're probably feeling some sensation down the back of the right leg here, as well as maybe the outside edge of the left leg. So it's a big, deep stretch, and there's lots of core work. So yes, this is a stretchy yoga class, but we always want to do a little bit of core work to keep our postures nice and strong and safe. Woo! 1 more breath. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, now option is to bend into that front leg to help bring us all the way up. We can lower the arms. Let's turn the toes forward and find a forward fold. Hands on hips, rolling forward. Any forward fold that feels good. Legs can be straight, bent. If you're in the chair, you can rest your elbows on your knees. Any option that feels good. Melt down. Stay for another breath. And then we're going to come all the way back up. So maybe we come up halfway and then hands on hips and then hinge all the way back up. Good. Let's roll those shoulders. Option to shake the legs out if we want, because you know we got to go to the other side. So we'll step wide again. This time we'll leave these right toes facing forward and we'll turn those left toes so they face the wall over here. We have our nice straight legs with a little bit of softness in the knees, and we're going to start to pull this hip back towards the wall here. Pull, pull, pull. We want to keep a nice long torso, so as the hip goes back, the torso hinges. We're reaching as far as we can reach. When we can't reach anymore, we're going to rotate the arms and try and stack the shoulders. Remember, option to have shorter levers, option to use blocks, option to rest on the leg here a little bit. Just don't rest on your knee. And then we want to keep spinning the heart space open. So spin that left shoulder underneath. Finding your option for 3, for 2, and 1. So here again, we can bend into that front leg to help us get all the way back up if we need to. Let's find another forward fold. Inhale here. Exhale, forward fold. Melt down. Remember, if you're in the chair, resting hands on knees is great, or coming all the way forward is great. I'm actually going to stay like this right now. You can stay in stillness, you can rock side to side, whatever feels best. We're taking an active break. And then we're going to come all the way back up to standing. Use your core strength, hinge all the way back up to standing or seated in your chair. And then we'll walk our feet back together. Let's take a few rounds of breath. Inhale here. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Let's inhale one more time. Exhale. And release. Okay. We're going to make our way back down to the mat. And we're going to come into a hero pose. If you're in the chair, maybe just choosing one of the other options, quad stretch, hip flexor stretch, whatever option feels best, or that hamstring stretch by stepping the foot out the front. If you are coming down to the mat, make your way down any way that feels comfortable. You can flow through a vinyasa and downward dog. I'm just going to make my way down. And we're going to come into a hero pose, like an easy seated hero pose. So a few options. You can sit on your legs just as they are, like this. If you do practice with a block, it might feel nice to slide a block underneath and just help elevate the hips a little bit. And the third option is to sit down on the sit bones by opening up the feet out to the side a bit as well. So this is the option I'm taking. I happen to have a block and this feels best for me. I'm going to turn sideways just so we can see the options for hero. So this is going to be a front side body opening, bit of focus on quad stretch. So again, if you're in the chair, you might go back to that quadricep stretch we did earlier by reaching for the back ankle and drawing the knees together. If you're coming into our hero stretch here, sitting up nice and tall, this actually might be enough sensation for you. You might already be feeling the stretch down the quads and actually down the front of the legs. That's perfect. If you're here, you're here. Maybe you want to reach back a little bit onto fingertips, press into the mat and open up the heart. And if you have it in your practice to make your way even further down onto elbows or your back, go ahead and do that. Now, I don't think it's possible if you're doing that with a block, so remove the block if you want to lie right down on the mat. For me, this is my happy place today. I'm going to press into the mat, open up my heart space, still feeling nice and open through the front side body. Option is to lift the hips off the block or mat as well, like this. Add a little bit more quad stretch, a little bit more front side body opening. We're here for 3, for 2, and 1. Let's make our way back to seated, and we're going to do another round of that. Come on up. Option to do a counter pose, maybe a cat stretch or finding child's pose. If you're seated, if you're not seated on the block, you can walk yourself all the way forward. Couple breaths here in preparation for round 2, and if you're in the chair for round 2, you'll switch legs. If we're in child's pose, we'll make our way back up, find our comfortable seat on our shins, and again, either staying here, coming all the way down, halfway down onto hands like me, or lifting the hips up and opening up. And we're here for our second round for 3. We're breathing for 2 and 1. Let's come on out of our second round here. Push all the way up, find a counter stretch. Maybe it's a cat-cow if you're in the chair. Maybe it's a child's pose if you're on the floor. Breathe into the backside body. And then when we're ready, let's come on out of our child's pose. We'll roll to one side. We're back on our seat, and we're going to come into a butterfly. So we've been stretching all the parts of our legs and our hips, and we haven't really done too much for our inner thighs. So let's come into butterfly. If you're in the chair, just step the feet wide, find that wide leg forward fold. If you're on the floor here, option for butterfly. So feet can come together, hands can be anywhere that feels comfortable, on ankles, massaging soles of feet, or fingers between thumbs. And we're all going to take a nice inhale and then exhale. Let's hinge forward to begin with. Find the edge with the long spine. And then if you'd like, hands can release or stay connected. And you can round down, melt down. So we're stretching inner thighs, maybe low back, letting the shoulder blades melt down, relax. When we're ready, we'll start to make our way back up. Draw the knees together, step the feet wide, lean back and windshield wiper the knees. And then we're going to make our way down to our backs to finish. So when you're ready, you can roll on down to your back. You can use your legs as leverage to get down there. Once you're down there, hug the knees in towards the chest. You can rock side to side. If you're in the chair, your option is maybe drawing one knee in towards belly or forehead like this, and then switching sides. You can do this on the floor as well, or like I said, just rocking side to side. Massage out that low back, and here's an option to just massage the low back out with a slightly different sensation. You can reach the legs up towards the ceiling. You'll add a little bit of hamstring stretch here. And then you can start to draw circles on the ceiling with the soles of the feet, keeping them together. You'll just notice that maybe you can get into different areas of your low back by doing this. If you're in the chair, keep drawing one knee in, then the other. Or find your cat-cow. If you're drawing circles, maybe switching directions. And you might be drawing circles on the floor here, or with your knees bent rather. There's no right or wrong. We're just slowing things down, seeing where we're feeling sensations. If you're on the back, let's lower the right foot down to the ground, keep it bent, and then we'll bring our hands behind our thigh here. And we'll just see if we can straighten our leg into our hands and draw the toes down towards our face. One last little stretch sequence before we wrap it up. If you're in the chair, you can stick one leg out in front. We're just doing a hamstring stretch, just like before. Maybe point and flex the toes, see how that changes things. Circle the ankle maybe. Keep pressing the leg into those hands and drawing the hands back towards the leg, just to feel that stretch. Good, from here let's bend the knee, switch sides. We'll open up that right leg, bringing the hand for support. Really press the leg into our hand there. Point and flex the toe. See how straight we can get the leg. Option is, of course, to extend the other leg along the mat if that's in your practice. It does add an intensity. You can circle through the ankle here. And then we'll bring that leg down to the mat as well. And since we are ready to come into Shavasana, we can straighten both legs out or bend both legs and let the knees fall in together. Depends how the low back is feeling. This posture here with the knees relaxing and dipping inwards, this will take a bit of stress off the low back. So any position for your final resting posture, hands can rest on heart center or belly or come down by our sides, palms turned up. Let's just start to scan our bodies and see if we're holding on to any tension anywhere, and see if we can breathe a little loving kindness that way and just let it go for the last few moments of practice. Start to tune back into those sensations and those senses. What can you hear? What are you feeling? If you've closed eyes, how does that change your line of sight? What can you see behind closed lids? We're going to take a few deep breaths here and then just let the breath find its natural rhythm. Shavasana is the time for our physical and energetic bodies to absorb all that good work we just did and turn it into something magical. It's a time for integration and rest. And know that rest is different from sleep, and that we need both every day. And we should never pass up an opportunity to just rest and do nothing. Continuing to stay exactly as you are. If your body wants or needs more time in Shavasana, just press pause or let the video play out. If you're ready to move, start to wiggle through fingers and toes, circle wrists and ankles. Maybe you want to stretch long along your mat one last time, or curl into a little ball just before making your way to a comfortable seated position if you're not already there. And then from here, we'll take a collective breath together. Let's inhale, sweep our arms up overhead. Exhale, draw all of that good energy down towards heart center. Hands can rest on heart center or in prayer or back down on your lap or thighs. I want to thank you so much for allowing me to guide you through these postures and for allowing me into your personal private yoga practice spaces. It is an honor, and I hope we have a chance to do this again next week. Until then, take care. Thanks, everyone. I hope that stretching out hips and legs and thighs is exactly what you needed. It often is. Have a great evening. We'll see you next weekend.